Lemmy Cooper 13, you're a gaming channel, and sometimes zoo channel. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's pretty obvious at this point. Hold on, I gotta turn the light off. It's pretty obvious at this point, but I'm a huge weeb. And I've been wanting to talk about anime and make videos about anime, but that freaking copyright demon is lurking everywhere. And that's been keeping me from making videos about anime. I've been wanting to make video essays about anime. Of course I have. Once. Because I just really wanted to. Because A Silent Voice is like my favorite movie and anime ever. If you can count that as because it's an anime movie. Yeah. So I needed to make a video essay about that, I felt like. But no, I'm super into anime. I have been since 2018, since my cousin introduced me to anime through Fairy Tail. Speaking of Fairy Tail, I guess we'll talk about Fairy Tail first. But yeah, my point is, I am massively into anime. I just don't talk about it much on the channel because copyright. I also love anime music, but again, copyright. So, alright. I don't think Fairy Tail is bad at all. Okay. Here's the thing. It's complicated for me and Fairy Tail. If it wasn't for Fairy Tail, I might have never become a weeb. And I'm so glad that I found that show. It was amazing. I got 7 seasons in, and when they introduced that thing called Kemu Kemu, I think, it's this little thing that came out of an egg, and it's like a green thing. I'm like, no. I can't watch this anymore. A couple years later, I'm like, alright, I'll rewatch it. I watched the next episode, and then I quit after that. Yeah, I just dropped the show. Honestly, the problem with the show for me isn't the power of friendship. It's more of how long the arcs last. Like, frick's sake. Okay, so you got Season 1 is pretty episodic. Season 2, pretty long, but I think it's fine. Season 3... Season 4 is a bit far. I feel like that was the show was still good in Season 4, but then Season 5 is where it began to fall off, in my opinion. I like that we got more backstory for Lucy, but I don't know, the guys that shake their asses in tight clothing, what the frick? And yes, this is, of course, also my first exposure to fan service in anime, which at the time I liked, but I'm like, even I was like, come on, this is a bit much. I was watching the whole thing with my mom, too. Okay, then, frickin' Season 6, huge tournament arc, lasted way too long. It even lasted into Season 7, and after that, there's a Zodiac arc, which I really love. But then after that, it's I don't even care what happens after that. There's some sort of epic war arc after that, but I just lost interest. It's too long. That's just my main problem with it. It's just too long. I think the characters are great. Urza Scarlet awakened my undying love for red-haired anime girls, to the point where I want to have red hair. Not sure if I'll actually get red hair, but I want to get red hair almost because of that anime. And I feel like Season 1 really hits the mark, especially with, Urza's arc. I rewatched the Tower of Heaven arc since it's always been my favorite, and I noticed that Natsu actually won by eating this magic stuff, which is better than just, I'm so sick and tired. I'm so sick and tired of you evil people. We are Fairy Tail and we are friends. I know I said that power of friendship wasn't my biggest issue. It still is an issue, okay? Friendship, don't get me wrong, it's a very profound thing, but you can't use it to solve everything. But yeah, I won't deny, Fairy Tail music is 10 out of 10. I freaking love Fairy Tail's music all the way up until the end. I've listened to all the openings. In fact, I have one song in my head now. Chasing. I'm not gonna sing any more of that. 15th opening right now in my head. But yeah, it's mid, okay? I don't know what else to say. It's just, Yeah, again, I like the characters a lot. Natsu's a bit annoying, but Lucy I love. I love Gray. I adore Urza, but it's just too long. That's really my biggest problem with it. I just lost interest because it's just too long. Yeah. Even at the time I was like, this is a bit much. Beastars. Oh wait, I think these are in no, these aren't in alphabetical order. Beastars. My friend Jolene introduced me to this. It's alright. It's alright. Jolene's gonna kill me if I put it in mid-tier, so I'm just gonna... I don't know, because I'm only like 3 episodes in. It's pretty good. That, episode 2 caught me off guard with, like, the sexuality. I'm fine with, like, anthropomorphic animal characters, but when they start to get sexual, I'm like, this is weird. So, yeah, Beastars, I didn't quit it because of that. I just quit because I got like 4 episodes in, I got bored. No, I didn't get bored. I just went on to other things. I just kind of stopped, moved on. I'm definitely going to watch it again at some point, but it's a weird show. I like the commentary on, like, predators have to be eating the, like, the other animal, the, whatever they're called, frick. I don't know the word. The non-predators, the prey. I like that, and I like the character that's, like, always trying to outperform everyone. I like the drama, like and by drama I literally mean drama, like they go to drama class, and I like that because both me and Jolene are drama students. We both had drama in high school. All right, yeah, haven't seen enough of it yet. Can't properly judge it. Is this your name? It's so low res, I can't tell. Your name is top tier. And amazing. I'm not sure if it's as good as everyone says it is. By the way, I have nothing against the movie. I just think there's lots of better anime out there. Which is why I can't put it at God tier. But it's amazing. I feel like it's the only thing ever that's really gotten away with the body swap concept and done it well. Normally it's just for a gag. Gravity Falls, it was fine. But, like, at that point, I felt like they were running out of ideas. Like, Gravity Falls Season 2, like, near the end, before the big climax, you can kind of tell they're running out of ideas, I feel like, with the more episodic episodes. But, yeah, so I'm happy they ended it where they did. But, like, the tabletop thing is pretty funny. But, yeah. Oh, yeah, by the way, there's gonna be spoilers. I'm gonna discuss spoilers. Just so you know. If you're watching this as a VOD, I will be discussing spoilers. I didn't really say anything in particular in Fairy Tail, I just mentioned characters and stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna be discussing spoilers. But Your Name, amazing. I really love, like, the stakes and, it's just a very wonderfully written story. But is that even your name? I don't think that is. Listen, I don't think that's your name. I think I'm tripping. But I love the... Alright, spoiler warning. I love the... skip, like, 10-20 seconds if you don't want to hear it. I love the plot line about the, like, comet and the whole time travel kind of aspect. I really love that. I felt like that was really cool. Anyway, that's pretty much the end of the spoilers. Ending was really nice. I liked it. Not gonna say what it is, because I just said the spoilers were over. But I don't think that's Your Name. Dr. Stone. Another show that both me and Jolene watch. Flashback, Jolene, same person. I'd say it's like high tier. So Dr. Stone had one of the best openings to any anime I've ever seen. It's like, I've never really been that into zombie apocalypse type things. It's like, oh no, the world is ending. I don't know, I guess it's because of my own kind of fear. I have lots of irrational fears, and one of them is that, like, the world will just one day end, and there'll be a huge apocalypse, and it's all hopeless, the hopelessness of it. That's what really turns me off of a lot of stuff. But Dr. Stone, it's like, everyone's turning to stone, but it's not hopeless because they can escape, you know? That's kind of what attracted me to this show rather than other apocalyptic shows. I mean, it is kind of the apocalypse, literally the world untouched for 5,000 years, now they're trapped in the Stone Age. Sorry about the camera shaking. And oh my god, I'm not a huge chemistry nerd, but I am moderate chemistry nerd, so it's very very nice hearing all the nerdy stuff. You really, if you love science and you watch the show, you're gonna love the show. The pacing though is pretty rough, and a lot of the characters are super annoying and really one note. Like Gen, they kind of start him off as this mysterious character, but then he just joins the party and makes these like snarky one-liners, and I feel like he's one of the main characters all of a sudden, and they're just really overusing him. I feel like I just feel like there's a lot, like it's the same, like they're all gag characters, a lot of them. However, that does not take away from the fact that the show is really good, especially when you get to season 2. Spoiler warning. Stone Wars, probably not the peak of the show, but like close to the peak of the show. The whole like debate, like how Senku doesn't want to kill anyone, so he's doing his best to do that. I love the whole argument, like the whole clash between. Really, I feel like if I'm talking about any of the anime in this list, you shouldn't watch this. Any of the anime on this list, if you want to see it and you don't want spoilers, then don't watch this. But anyway, what was I saying? I really love the debate between, like, strength versus science, and, like, how Tsukasa believes that a lot of people don't deserve to live, while Senku believes everyone deserves to live. Senku, as a character, I just really love, because he doesn't like to show compassion directly, but he is a very compassionate character, but he kind of gets drowned out by his, like, science, but he always makes sure everyone is protected, and he always tries to ensure everyone's safety, even the enemy's safety. Well, most of the time. That one time they did lead them into a sulfuric acid death trap, so we can't forget about that. But besides that, and when he petrified Ibara, again, spoiler warning, a little too late on that one. I mean, that was in self-defense, really. Ibara was trying to freaking kill him. But I really love the whole Stone Wars arc, the whole, like, the New World arc when they go to the island, I feel like is a bit slow in the beginning. But I get it, it's like they're trying to infiltrate the island, but it just feels like it goes really slow. But, oh my god, frickin' Ginro's... Okay, here's another problem I have. Then they mention this in the show, but it doesn't really excuse... I guess it's part of his character, but Ginro, I love how he actually starts to become more of a competent character in the arc, and then afterwards he just returns to his jackass self, and not in a likable way. He's a really unlikable jackass. So, like, I don't know, they mention it in the show, like, oh, he's back to normal, and he's back to his, like, old self, but, like, that doesn't excuse anything. Give him some actual character development. Really, the characters are the weakest part of Dr. Stone, surprisingly enough, which is really awful. Even my favorite character, the melon girl, freaking Suika, she's kind of one note. She's like, I'm gonna be useful, and not really anything else. I really hope, since the manga's over, that they expand upon it. However, there is good signs, and there are very amazing moments in Dr. Stone. And I love that the episodes aren't all about what's gonna happen, all the action. Instead, it's about what advancements are we gonna make. It's like, and they always have like a little video gamey, like, obtained this sound effect. I love that. I really love that. Yeah. All 3 seasons so far have been bangers. Especially Stone Wars and the second half of season 3 were both absolute bangers. So, yeah. I love Dr. Stone. Just not... I feel like the character... first of all, I'm not really a big fan of the art style or the animation. And second of all, I feel like a lot of the characters are one note. However, there are very good moments of character growth, especially with Senku, Tsukasa, and, like... what's his name? The guy with the spear? Basically, all the... I feel like... what's his name? The freaking guy with the spear that's really evil and that betrays everyone. He kind of has some character development in season 3. Yeah. I should have put a spoiler warning on the title of the video. If anyone joins, I'll make sure to mention it. Anyway, I've got a lot to get through, so I'm not gonna try to talk too long about all of them. Vinland Saga, though. God tier anime. One of my favorite anime ever. Now, I have quite the complex story with this one. Back during the COVID era, I decided to watch it, because I'm like, Viking anime? You serious? I love that shit. And I watched it. Like, all in one sitting, pretty much. And I just felt so mixed about it. I'm like, it has the historicalness, it has the action. What's missing? I don't understand. So I do what I always do and look for people online to reassure my opinion when I was just kind of taking on other people's opinions when I was really mixed about the show. And also I got this weird thing happens when I watch when I do anything where my brain actively tries to stop me from liking something for some reason. And that really happened with Vinland Saga. So I honestly did not have a good first impression of the show. I was really enjoying it, but about halfway through, I just really was like, something's off. And when I watched season 2, I realized what was off. It was the fact that Thorfinn was such a one-note, unlikable character. Yeah, I said it. Everyone's like, oh, he's such a badass in the first season. Why did they have to turn him in? Why did they have to abandon all the action in the second season? Because he's growing as a character. And now that it was a really risky move that turned off a lot of people, but also turned on a lot of people. Sounds weird, but when I watched season 2, I'm like, I get it now. I get what the show's trying to tell me. I rewatched season 1 and I'm like, this is amazing. With friends, by the way, that always helps. And I'm rewatching it again now, and I'm like, this is amazing. Because season 1, again, spoilers, season 1 is all about the, just animosity of war, how it turns people into soulless beings. Like Thorfinn, he lost all compassion. When he sees Leif again, he's just like, I want to kill Askeladd. And Vinland, that was his dream. He didn't give a shit about his family anymore. But I mean, he hadn't seen them in years, and all his mind has been completely clouded by revenge. And I like how the show isn't solely focused on Thorfinn. It shows a bunch of different perspectives. That's probably one of the biggest strengths of the whole show. Even sometimes you'll see one-off perspectives, like the slave girl from episode 7, and episode 8, I think it was, of season 1. Of course, I love me some action, and I feel like when there is action, it's amazing. But yeah, Thorfinn I just found to be a very unlikable character. Like, straight up. I just did not like him. However, that changed in Season 2. And I freaking love him in Season 2. He turned from a pretty mediocre character in my eyes. Oh, hello there. Welcome to the stream. I'm talking about Vinland Saga right now. What anime do you watch? Oh, what? Why'd you leave? I think maybe someone I know just hopped on and left the like and left, whatever. But we got a viewer for a second there. Okay, so Vinland Saga, Thorfinn went from a pretty mediocre character into my eyes to being one of my favorite characters ever. And his iconic line, I have no enemies, really resonated with me, and I still kind of, I really vibe with that. I'm like, what's the point of having enemies? It just makes life worse. It makes the world worse. And I know it's not so simple, and the show demonstrates that. You can't just avoid war all the time. Especially in the manga. Oh my god, don't even get me started on how good Vinland Saga manga is. After season 2, which was about pursuing the path of peace, we see Thorfinn is kind of forced into warlike situations. You can't just always avoid it. Especially if you're in, hostile areas like Thorfinn was. And, oh my god, huge spoilers, but the Vinland arc is spectacular, and it's everything I wanted it to be and more. We see that it isn't the place that Thorfinn imagined, but he still is extremely positive about the whole situation. I love Hild, and how she gradually starts to forgive him after a very long time. I felt like it was very realistic how she really took a long time to forgive him. God. My voice is getting tired already. This is gonna be a long night. I might not be able to do this all right now, but what was I saying? I love Hild, love Einar, love Thorfinn. Askeladd was an amazingly written villain, but holy crap, he was brutal. Like, people seem to overlook, like, I recently rewatched episode 14. Bro murdered an entire village, like, without a second thought. And everyone else just kind of looked away. Like, that shit, like, damn, bro, that shit's just awful. There's no justifying that, even though, they were gonna report it to the enemy, which they ended up doing, but, like, that doesn't justify that. That doesn't justify that, you know? But, yeah, the Vinland arc, I felt like was very realistic. I love how they incorporated the Native Americans so well. Also, hello there. Vinland Saga spoilers discussing right now, but, yeah, I love how they incorporated the Native Americans, and I really loved the, how they talk about, like, I really love the scene, one of my favorite scenes in the whole manga is where you see the chief of, like, the prophet, or, like, this really important guy in the Native American tribe, the Lanu, I think, and he sees a vision of the future, and it's, like, the guns and nukes and stuff. And then that he's convinced the Norse are what's going to cause that, but little does he know it's going to be the English and French and all the others that caused that many centuries later. And that kind of gives him distrust. And, like, I don't blame him. If I were in his shoes, I'm like, holy crap, these guys are going to bring out the apocalypse, basically. And they kind of did with all the disease that spreads. And there goes the viewer. Anyway, again, I'm going to warn anyone who comes on of spoilers. But yeah. And, geez, where the manga is currently at is such a freaking huge cliffhanger right now. I won't spoil it, but frick, man. Jeez. Alright, what's next? Anyway, God tier anime, one of the greatest works of fiction I've ever seen, period. And the historical stuff, again, I very much love that. I feel like they did very well. Especially with, like, characters like Canute. Alright, welcome to the NHK. It's really between top tier and God tier. I'll say God tier. This is I think this is kind of a hot take, just because this anime is severely underrated, and I think it's just because, holy crap, this anime is dark. It's probably the darkest anime I've ever seen. Not in terms of, like Attack on Titan, that shit's probably darker, but, like, in terms of realism. Like, lots of mental health issues, like, the show kind of paints itself as a dark comedy, but when you actually think about it, it's really realistic. Spoilers for the entire show, but, you know, like, there's arcs about, like, making porn games, but, you know, like, okay, that's hilarious, not gonna lie. But you see he formed this addiction, and that's true. People with depression, they often form addictions to porn, and they definitely don't shy away from the characters' like mental health. Frick's sake, it gets super dark, and I really love how a lot of the anime is just about this guy getting counseling. The arc about the MMORPG and the pyramid scheme I especially loved, and the final arc was heartbreaking, but I'm happy that it ended the way it did because I was so worried it wouldn't end well. Oh god, it's such a dark show. Like, it's hard to swallow, especially how Misaki has... So I'm a Christian, and to see Misaki, who has been influenced by her aunt, who's kind of like a missionary, that she loses faith in God because of all the suffering in her life, and like, she starts to blame everything on him, and she said, yeah, and like, she loses her self-esteem completely. It's just so dark. There's a bit of a metaphor with the NHK. Like, the NHK is the inexplainable, the scapegoat, something to blame something on. Especially with that other girl, what's her name? Like the conspiracy theorist girl that's always with the main character in the past. The guy with the glasses is really annoying, but I feel like he serves his purpose in the story well, which is a friend figure who's kind of annoying. And there's one scene in the show that I particularly resonated with. Spoilers for episode 6 of Welcome to the NHK, when the main character, I think Sato, is that his name, is at this school for like animation, I think, or like art. He suddenly rushes out of the room after getting an anxiety attack, and you see him like go into a corner of the hall and just start saying stuff like, "Why did I ever think I could be able to come here?" I'm like, God, that's potent. Because I've been there. I've been like, why did I even decide to go to school today? It's so hard. Frick off! Anyway, but yeah, it's such a potent anime, but extremely dark. In terms of how realistic it is, I'd say like Oshinoko is the second darkest, but this is the darkest. In terms of mental health struggles, because like, God, and the hikikomori, that has kind of fascinated me, and I feel like they don't deserve to be shamed, they deserve to be helped, because mental health is a serious thing, and not enough people realize people don't just get hurt on the outside, they get hurt on the inside. And it's things that people can't even imagine unless they really get to know a person. And yeah, I love the main message at the end of the show. Huge spoilers, but so skip about 30 seconds if you want to hear it. But basically the main message of the show is Sato says, things are going pretty good right now, and I'm not sure how long it'll last, but I'll stay hopeful and like all that. And I think that's a wonderful message, especially for such a dark show. And that's like the whole ending. And yeah, again, I love how it's just a lot of the anime is just about like her counseling him. And it can be pretty funny, although I'm not that into dark comedy, but sometimes the comedy in it is pretty funny. But like, yeah. Amazing anime, very underrated. I am super into Hololive. My first exposure to the anime was actually Amelia Watson singing Poo-doo poo-doo poo-doo-deen. Oh, 3 likes, nice. Poo-doo poo-doo poo-doo-deen, poo-doo poo-doo poo-doo-deen, poo-doo poo-doo-deen. It's catchy, I like it. And yeah, I was like, what is that from? It's a really nice song. And I'm like, oh, it's from this show. And I'm like, wow, she's based. And yeah, dark show, hard to swallow, but dang is it potent. Anyway, oh god, there's so many heavy hitters on here. Again, I don't know if I'll be able to do all this now. Clannad I want to watch, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to handle it. Toradora, let's freaking go. Top tier. I can't put everything in God tier. I'm sorry, Toradora. I did you kind of dirty. Toradora. So I'm not that into romance anime or romance in general. I'm kind of, the concept's kind of foreign to me. I've never really dated anyone. Over the years, though, I've kind of started to realize what I feel like love is truly about, and it's genuine affection rather than dating and yeah, all that stuff. And like the will to protect someone else because of how much you care about them. And I know that can be said for platonic love, but I think it can also be said for like romantic love. Toradora, I feel like, just first of all, I've always been pretty into tsunderes, so that's really why I started watching. But oh my god, 5 likes! Thank you so much, guys. Toradora, I feel like it's just such a very well-written anime, and I heard someone say it's represents like romantic maturity, which is ironic because of how immature the characters act a lot of the times, but they're teenagers and they don't know how to describe their feelings, and near the end of the show I really get what they mean, and they confront these feelings, and it's an emotional journey, that's for sure. And like you really were hoping for that good ending, um, for them to finally get together after everything they've been through. It's not super sad, but it really just hits you there. Especially the last few episodes and the Christmas arc. Oh God. I watched the whole thing with my mom, and she loved it. Um, yeah, I really oh my God. Yeah, so here's something I forgot to mention. The characters in Toradora are amazing, all of them. Yeah, Minori is a freaking jackass, but like she's a lovable jackass. Even the minor characters, like the teacher who just seems to want to have a break. They all just seem to be real. They seem like real people. And something I really loved is how the main character doesn't seem like a self-insert. It's subtle, but he really has a personality. Like, that sounds weird, but like a lot of romance anime, like you'll want to be in the action. Like they want to make it that you were there. So they normally make it's not a harem, but it's like, the typical harem protagonist stereotype. They're completely like are complete dunce. They're so dense, and they just have nothing to them. But Ryuji is a Chad. He's a Giga Chad. I love how he loves to clean so much as a germaphobe. I can really respect that. I love his mom is a very complex character. I've realized. Um, uh, and yeah, and I love how he doesn't always just like go along with what Taiga says. He's often bickering with her, but they really have something going, and you can tell early on, especially in like the summer vacation arc. Now, okay, skip 20 seconds. Spoiler warning for the ending of the show. I think it was a good ending. I heard someone say like you can interpret it different ways, but I take other people's opinions too seriously. I loved it. It was the most Toradora way of confessing their love. It was so awkward. Anyway, moving on. That's the end of the spoilers. If I say like big spoiler warning, just skip 20 seconds. That'll probably be enough. Alright, what next? I really want to talk about Steins Gate so bad. Oh, speaking of, Steins Gate, that's going straight up to God tier. Wow. I cannot tell you how much I adore Steins Gate. First of all, best time travel thing ever. Yeah, even better than Back to the Future. That's saying something. I love Back to the Future. But I feel like Steins Gate has such a nuanced take on time travel. And oh god, it's a messed up show. I love how the first half of the show is like rather comedic. Like there's some dark elements, like a mystery to solve, but it's rather comedic. And you got all these really fun and wacky characters that again they kind of seem like stereotypes. But then when the big shock happens midway through, all the characters just completely change. The once complete jackass, lovable jackass, Chuni. Oh god, I really love Chunis because they're so over the top and ridiculous. The once Chuni jackass becomes a worried he always comes off as very eccentric, but the moment that shock happens, he just becomes more like center and like not calm, but he just becomes way more quote unquote normal, and it's scary. Normally that wouldn't be scary, but it's scary because and he explains that it was kind of a front he put up to make Mayuri happy. Big spoiler warning, but really just skip the next few minutes, I feel like, if you don't want to hear Steins Gate spoilers. But all the characters, the moment that scene, that freaking... they all feel like real people again. But, like, after that scene, the next half of the show, all the characters suddenly feel real. Like, shit gets real. Even the Nyan cat girl, she starts not saying Nyan all the time, and you learn about how fricked up her past is, and like, oh god, it's so sad, the love story between, again, spoiler warning, the love story between Going Kyoma and Christine. Again, red-haired waifu is a win. That whole story is so sad, especially near the ending. And then there's the Steins Gate Zero, which I haven't finished yet, but I hope to. But mainly, it's just too much filler so far. But I definitely will finish it. It's pretty good. Not as good as Steins Gate though. Steins Gate pacing is really what kills it in a good way. I mean, it's killing it, dude. That's what I mean by kills it. It's like really, really amazing pacing, because it's always like, what's gonna happen next? Is he finally gonna discover the secrets of time travel? And then you're like, wait, no, don't discover the secrets of time travel. So, like, you spend the first half of the show, like, come on, yeah, let's try out this time travel stuff, seems pretty cool. And the second half's like, shit, go back! And I love it. It's such a good contrast. It really subverts your expectations, because the show starts out so lighthearted, and then just gets balls to the walls, gonna make you cry. I remember my freaking nephew was in the other room, and, and he walked in, spoiler warning, skip 10 seconds or 20 seconds you don't want to hear, in the scene where Mayuri gets shot. And he walks in and I'm like, hey, this isn't an anime for kids. Yeah. Like, why that part of all parts? Something I also loved, it's a pretty minor scene. Again, skip 10 to 20 seconds if you don't want to hear it. This is your warning. Spoiler warning, skip 10 to 20 seconds. After Hoin Koma starts helping out other people with their problems, hoping that Mayuri will be safe, she still dies anyway, and we don't expect it that time, you know? And it's that pacing, and you like even the villain characters, you see that they also have such fricked up lives. And also the dub, I heard very little of the Steins Gate dub, sounds pretty good from what I've heard, at least in that scene at the construction site. I won't go farther than that, but that scene was amazingly dubbed. Voice acting in general is amazing. The show actually made me laugh quite a bit, especially the jokes about how Christine is a 4chan, basically the equivalent of 4chan, and she knows all the memes. And I got rickrolled by Steins Gate Zero. It's been a few minutes, so skip another few minutes if you don't hear Steins Gate spoilers. And anyway, let me talk a bit about the characters, because that's what really makes Steins Gate. And the pacing. Hoin Koma, amazing main character. I can't remember his real name. Again, he goes from this eccentric Chuni, who is very lovable, but a bit of a jackass at the same time, to a very grounded person, and like, you realize how, whenever there's any sense of danger, you realize how compassionate he is. I love characters that kind of want to hide their compassionate side, because it's endearing. Like, you know, they want to express their love, but they don't know how. And that's what I feel like how Hoin Koma is, especially when it comes to him and Mayuri. Like, you can tell he has such a loving relationship with her, not sexually, but like a kind of like brother-sister kind of relationship. But yeah, and it's just so tragic. Hoin Koma is definitely one of the most tragic protagonists, I feel like, of any anime, considering the amount of shit he had to go through. And also Spider-Man gameplay. Hey, that's not Spider-Man. Never mind. It looked like Spider-Man gameplay. Okay, but yeah, I love his evolution, and I love at the end how he comes back in his Chuni persona and like makes a grand finale, and he kind of, huge spoilers. The whole last episode of Steins Gate is the first episode mirrored, and that's like the coolest, probably one of the coolest last episodes of any anime. It's gone full circle, and it's so cool because everything lines up almost perfectly. But now we have a whole new, like, we understand it more. I found it weird about the whole Metal Upa thing, and how that, spoiler warning, the Metal Upa prevented a nuclear apocalypse. Yeah, it's pretty silly, but I'm like, alright, I'll roll with it. And I love how he's willing to even sacrifice himself at the end, but he doesn't die, and he even reunites with her at the end. Listen, and this is how I feel about a lot of anime. I feel like when characters suffer so bad, they deserve a good ending, if they're good people. And that's what Steins Gate is. I feel like, because people are like kind of critical of like, oh, it's a perfect ending, but I'm like, I'm fine with the perfect ending if it's after all these people have suffered through, they deserve it. And I will get into that, why I feel like that's how the case is for Violet Evergarden, the movie. Anyway, for the other characters, Christine, as I mentioned, I freaking adore her. I love her relationship with him and how they're always bickering. It's hilarious. And I love how willing she is to help him out when he's in need. She's an amazing character and super smart. 10 out of 10 top tier waifu. Daru, he's one of my lesser favorite characters. He's a bit of a freaking weirdo, like he's a bit much. He's kind of a comic relief character, but he is willing to get serious, but he kind of reverts back into his comedic self normally. But yeah, he is willing to get serious when it calls for it. What's her name? Suzuha? I really love her. I love the plot twist of how she's actually, spoiler warning, she's actually John Titor, and she becomes such a major character. I love how she really feels like a strong woman character. Then we've got the girl with the phone that I forget the name of. She's a very complex character. You can kind of tell from the beginning that there's something a bit off with her. I mean, again, she did, spoiler warning, kill Mayuri. But you also just realize how fricked up her life is and how much she's being manipulated. And then you see how much they're being manipulated. And again, the construction site scene, that really left an impact on me. Who else? I mean, yeah, FB, as I just mentioned. And my favorite character in all of Steins Gate, who I feel like doesn't get enough attention, Urushibara Luka. Urushibara Luka kind of starts off as like a femboy, or quote-unquote trap, which I really don't like that term. And you know, I like my femboys, but then we get this scene in episode 7 or so. Luka says, I want to be a girl, and in that moment, I felt this long, like, buried part of me jump out and like, holy crap, yes, let's freaking go! Woo, that's what I'm talking about. It's the most critical thing. Basically, Steins Gate cracked my egg and made me realize, or at least gave me a really big hint that I was a transgender woman, and because of that, Steins Gate will always hold a very close, like a very big place in my heart. And yeah, we see Luka actually become a woman, and like, but then, so I honestly have some mixed feelings about this. We have episode 18 of Steins Gate, which I really want to make a video on, but YouTube, I'm afraid about getting copyright nuked. So episode 18 of Steins Gate. Basically, huge spoiler warning for the entire episode, because I'm basically going to talk about the entire episode, but Mayuri keeps dying. So Hoin Kyoma needs to undo all the times they did time travel in hopes of stopping Mayuri from dying. This includes making Luka being born as a girl. However, Luka has one request before she's turned back into a boy. Again, a bit weird. And that is basically being able to date Kyoma. And he's like, oh, what? This is weird. And all the girls give him dating advice, and it's really cute. But then you get that scene at the end where it's like, they can't. Okay, here's my problem with it. They're like, oh, we can't be together, and they kind of act like it's a forbidden love. It's not over the top. It's very well written, but it's like, Jesus. I feel like I feel like they could have done it better. Like, they're like, it's like they kind of, yeah, here's the thing. So, Luca, when turned back into boy, Kyoma asks, "Do you like me?" And he's like, he/she is like, "No," and I'm like, "Bruh." You realize homosexuality is a thing, right? I know that's a bit of a weird topic in Japan, except for like Yuri and yaoi circles, like manga, which I don't think it's very common. It's a very delicate thing. God dang it. But I kind of got offended. I'm like, what? You don't just stop having feelings for someone just because, like, you could kind of view it as like Iran's forced gender reassignment surgery, which is a very dark topic, but I feel like it's relevant because just because people are certain genders doesn't mean they won't be attracted to each other. If they're homosexual, heterosexual, bisexual, pansexual, any of the asexual, any of the other stuff, all the colors of the rainbow, you know what I mean. You don't just stop having feelings for someone. However, I also think like Luca might just be saying that because of the societal norms of Japan, or like I'm not sure if it's meant to be like Luca. No, Steins Gate. They clearly show that Luca had a crush on him the whole time. So she's definitely lying that she doesn't have a crush on him anymore. I think it's also partly to make him not feel guilty. Again, mixed. However, there is something that saves it for me, and it's when Hoen Kyoma says, no matter what gender you are, Luca, you'll always be the same Luca to me. And I'm like, oh man, that hits you right there, man. And I feel like that's what saved the rather iffy scene and actually made it one of my favorite scenes in the whole show. It's weird how that works. But again, I feel like when she's turned back into a boy, in body, because she clearly wants to assert herself as a girl, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, from what I can tell, she says she doesn't like him, but I'm calling cap. She does like him, and I realize that the show is way too well written, or I know it was a game first. The game/show was way too well written for her to just stop having feelings for him out of nowhere. It would have been she's hiding it. Maybe she doesn't want Kyoma to feel like she prioritizes Mayuri's life over their relationship. And besides, here's also the other thing. Even if they did get together, it would have been a problem because he was already falling in love with Kurisu. And I like that relationship. I feel like it worked out better. Luca kind of, I mean, she did confess, but I feel like, we had a really good relationship that they were building up between the two of them. We didn't see Luca and Kyoma together as much. So that makes episode 18 one of my favorite episodes in the whole show, but I feel like it all depends on how you look at it. Like, one could view this as offensive. I don't really think it is, especially since he literally says, it doesn't matter what gender you are, you're still the same person to me. Which is, I think, what some people say to, like, transgender people to be supportive. I would know. And yeah, that's why I feel like it's really a great episode, and it really stands out to me. I still feel like it's really shitty that she had to turn back into a guy in body. Yeah, that's probably my least favorite part of the entire show, if I'm being honest. Because that really didn't need to happen. It came out in 2011, which, listen, I'm not an expert on this topic, but I feel like they could have at least tried to do a little better with that. Danganronpa has a similar thing with Chihiro, where it's like, I'm not going to get into that right now too much. Basically, Chihiro basically dresses himself as a girl because being bullied for being too weak. Chihiro's secret is being threatened to found, again, spoiler warning for Danganronpa. Chihiro's secret is being threatened to be found out, so he basically starts trying to work out more. I mean, I'm not sure how much you can do in a day, but so he can feel more confident about revealing that to everyone. And they mention, like, how he's, like, stronger than Mondo for doing that, which, on one hand, kind of feeds into the toxic masculinity that was the whole downfall and the whole reason Chihiro was bullied, but also, I think Chihiro doesn't want to be dressed as a girl. Like, he wants to... I don't know. I wish they would be a little more... I wish they would be a little more, like, actually like, they would actually say more about it, but... Like, I think he wanted to actually be one of the dudes. Chihiro still is an adorable femboy, though, which is the reason Chihiro's my favorite character. And I love their story and all that. In Danganronpa, I mean. And Alter Ego, don't even get me started on that. And, yeah, that's just, like, it's weird, but I don't feel like it's offensive. Again, it all depends on how you look at it. Because it's, like, Chihiro doesn't seem to like being a girl. Like, dressed as a girl, I mean. But Chihiro feels too insecure. And, I mean, at that point, Chihiro had disguised himself as a girl for a long time. And again, don't take anything I'm saying as offensive, because I'm a trans woman, so literally, I'm not dogging on anyone here. Everyone has their own forte, and everyone has their own, and everyone's valid, is what I'm trying to say. And I love Chihiro, and my point is, Steins Gate has a bit of a weird thing going on with Luca, but it cracked my egg, and made me feel very validated, and also I feel like they handled her character really well, and it really contributed to the amount of loss, because even they mentioned many times in the show how much they had to sacrifice just to save Mayuri, and then, spoiler warning, Kurisu, dying, which they actually couldn't prevent, except when they could, because in the last episode they pull some Deus Ex Machina shit in a good way. I think Deus Ex Machina can be done well. Basically, spoiler warning, future Hoin Kyoma is like, bro, you need to get on this, and then he's like, okay, and then it all kind of, and the last episode's so amazing, especially his confrontation with, what's his face? It got those weird close-up shots of their faces that kind of stuck with me for some reason. I'm like, that's a bit weird. I don't think the show did that before. But yeah, Steins Gate. I adore Steins Gate. Especially because it broke my egg. It cracked it. I'm not sure if, I think Bridget from Guilty Gear is what really made me realize I was transgender. But that really did a massive crack in the egg. Because I just, like, I felt elated. Just like an uncontrollable happiness emanating from my soul and my body when I heard that I want to be a girl, and then they actually and yeah, that line, I'm like, yeah, and it already kind of felt kind of feminine at that point, and I already realized I was bisexual, so, yeah, it was a slow process, but anyway, I've been really wanting to talk about that for a long time, especially episode 18, but again, I feel like it's saved by, as I said, you're the same person regardless of the gender, and I feel like Kurisu and him was a more healthy relationship. I don't think him and Luca's unhealthy, we never really see much of their relationship. Compared to him and Kurisu. Whew. Yeah. So, hold on, I gotta hang now. Never seen this. Gurren Lagann, wow, this is a nostalgic one. I'd say high tier. Gurren Lagann, I think it's great. I haven't seen it in a very long time. But, again, with that kind of hopeless feeling kind of had going for it, but it kind of quickly went away when I realized how much these guys are fighting back, and this really awakened my love. No, I love Transformers, so I'm not gonna say this is what awakened my love for mechs. No, I've always loved mechs ever since Transformers. But this really made me love mechs. So badass. Yoko Littner took my love for like red-haired chicks or red-haired girls up from like here to here. Jeez, I really fell for her, even though I feel like that she's a bit compromising. Like they're a bit overboard with her. I feel like it does get better over time, especially near the end. Okay, listen. My point is the fan service is a bit much. However, the motivational speeches, like, plot twist, I guess, or spoiler warning, I guess, for Gurren Lagann, is like, be the you that believes in yourself. And after hearing all these different kinds of motivational speeches from, what's his name? I forget. But, yeah. After he dies, again, spoiler warning, things just really change. Nia gets introduced, which I think is a really good character. I really feel like they shouldn't have killed that guy off so early. It was a really, real shame. That's kind of I think that's my biggest problem with the show. They just shouldn't have killed him off so early. Literally so iconic. And then you get the second half of the show, which is extremely different, and I really love the Viral's redemption arc, and the prison scenes, and, it was scary how Nia turned evil, and the whole anti-spiral stuff really threw me for a loop. I had no idea what was going on, but I loved watching it. I think it's something to do with like the evolution of mankind and how it'll lead to ruin, and how Anti-Spiral wants to stop like the evolution of spiral beings, if I'm not incorrect. But it leads to one of the best final fights in Gurren Lagann. However, spoiler warning for the ending: Nia disappears at the wedding. What? But apparently she was like a simulation, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. At that point, this show was so crazy, I'm like, I didn't really care. And Simone seemed pretty chill about it, because I think he knew all along. And then, the ending's really good. We see them as older, and yeah. He talks to good old guy again. High tier, I just feel like, compared to the other anime, it's a bit short, and again, I haven't seen it in a very long time, but very nostalgic. The characters aren't the best, but you got some really good ones in there. Especially the main three, Nia, Lord Genome, kinda, he was alright. Amazing show. Not my favorite anime, but a very good anime. Alright. I'm just looking for one I recognize. I'm just gonna go straight to the bottom. Demon Slayer. I'd say high tier. Hear me out. So I've had a weird thing with Demon Slayer. I watched the first episode, I'm like, alright, this is pretty cool. A bit dark, but pretty cool. And I just got bored. I don't know what to say. I got bored. My mom was watching it with me, and she really loved it a lot more than I did, so she really was kept me watching. And I shit you not, the part when I really started to get into it is when the boar guy was introduced. And there was the drums. Really, I just feel like, I get that they're trying to have a training arc and stuff, but I've never really liked training arcs. I found them kind of boring. Again, I was younger back then. I feel like I didn't value it as much. But, like, I find the fights in Demon Slayer, honestly, they seem to drag. Like, alright, this is probably going to be the hottest take in the whole video, so cover your ears. Maybe skip a few 10 seconds. Fight with Gyutaro and Daki was too long. It lasted like almost the entire season. And I'm like, just end already. Like, jeez, I'm like, how much more destruction can the entertainment district handle? But however, we did get one badass finale, and season 2 ended off on a really high note, so I was willing to forgive it. But now I'm watching season 3, and I just got bored. I don't know what to say. Again, it's not badly written or anything. I love the characters. Zenitsu, however, the side characters are a bit off. Like Zenitsu, jackass, not in a likable way. Bozo, I was about to call him Bozo. The boar guy is jackass in a slightly more likable way, but they're just so loud and annoying. Tanjiro, Nezuko, they need to be showed more. The demon characters are pretty good. I feel like they get better as the show goes on, especially with like Akaza. I remember manga spoilers. I read Akaza's backstory, and I think I teared up. Like, geez, Akaza's such a well-written character, even though he killed Rengoku. Which was one of my, the Mugen Train was one of my favorite parts of the show. Also, One Punch Man spoilers, weirdly bringing this up. Rengoku, like, Akaza says, don't you want to become a demon? You'll be so much stronger. And One Punch Man, in season 2, the monster's like, don't you want to become a monster? You'll be so much stronger. But the thing is that in One Punch Man season 2, the monsters just kind of came out of nowhere. Demons, though, they've been a constant presence, and you've been knowing about them, and you know how much, like, stronger they are than humans, so it's a lot more, it hits a lot harder. And Rengoku denies it, and he ends up dying because of it. Yeah. And I've read a bit of the final fight with Muzan, and it's amazing. Very good way to cap off the show. I'm like, geez, these fights are so long, how could they possibly do a fight with Muzan? And from what I haven't seen the whole thing, but from what I've seen, it's amazing. Demon Slayer, just too slow. I know, that sounds weird. I just find the pacing sucks, in my opinion. Or maybe it's just my ADHD brain. I mean, Steins Gate's pretty slow. My point is, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's like the fights. I get bored during the fights because they just kind of drag, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know. It doesn't really make any sense, I feel like. My friend Watercup really loved the Demon Slayer, and I say, like, it drags on too much. He's like, what do you mean? And I heard Dragon Ball fights drag on even longer, and I'm like, oh god. And he's also a Dragon Ball fan, although I do want to watch it. Yeah, Demon Slayer, I really love Tanjiro and Nezuko. Some, like, Tamayo, like the demon who's actually against the other demons. Akaza, Muzan, he's fine as a villain. I don't think I know enough about him. I haven't read all the manga. There's a lot of it I haven't read, actually. I like the other Hashira, like Rengoku. The girl Hashira seems pretty cool. I'm only 5 episodes into season 3. Maybe something big happens, I don't know. But yeah, Demon Slayer is a great show. It's just the side characters are a bit hit and miss. And the pacing is a bit wonky. But when it hits, it hits. And it has some really amazing fights. And especially, it makes you feel for the demons. Like the Spider Family. And especially Akaza, Gyutaro, Daki. All them, you really feel for them. And that's an amazing feat. They're freaking demons who eat people. Yeah. It's really, yeah. That's probably some of the best parts of the show. Amazing show. Just not my favorite. And it's not I feel like, yeah, high tier right here. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. So this show is freaking weird. It's freaking weird. It's actually one of the first anime I ever saw, weirdly enough, so it's kind of nostalgic. It was my first, and now I think about it, it was my first ever exposure to Kyoto Animation, my favorite animation company ever, besides, like, Pixar, I guess. First of all, I love the lesbianism. I love how Toru's such a over-the-top lesbian. Kana's very cute, but it's a bit weird with the scenes where she's like with the bully girl, like they get in bed together and she has like a really obsession over her. Like I feel like they just put that in for lolicons. Kana's really adorable, don't get me wrong, but like Jesus, it's a bit weird. It's like really weird. Why do you like this anime? And you got another thing, Luke Koa with the Shota. He's literally named Shota. I mean, what? Pedophilia? Japan's freaking weird. Girl with the trident, the freaking unicorn horn. She's all right. I like the guy with the goth guy. He's also all right. I like Miss Kobayashi. I like how she just seems like an overworked middle-aged woman who just she's always getting drunk and she just wants a normal life and she has to constantly deal with all these people pestering her. I have not seen season 2 with the big booba red dragon, but I might check it out at some point. But this show is freaking weird, but it's cute. It's very, very cute. Wholesome. Yeah, it's actually a surprisingly wholesome show. I'm not that into slice of life, but this show it's wholesome. Most of the time. Alright. It's about time we talk about oh god, they're right next to each other! Silent Voice, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, my 2 favorite anime of all time. Silent Voice, yeah, how fitting. Death Note's up there too. Doesn't look like there's any other... We'll get to that one. I love that one. Anyway, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. God tier. Top of the frickin' list. I know. Wow. So surprising. But I adore this anime. Zabam, if you know him, you might know him from older videos. He introduced me to this anime, and God, it's good. From start to finish, 10 out of 10. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah, the beginning, honestly, okay, maybe 9 out of 10 in the beginning. The beginning is like, you've watched Fullmetal Alchemist 03, right? Well, we're just gonna give you a summary of that. And so the beginning of the show feels extremely, like, underdeveloped. Especially, like, Shao Tucker and the Lior arc. Especially the Lior arc. I'm like, geez, they really fricked up the Lior arc. Yeah, honestly, I was considering dropping the show, about 4 or 5 episodes in. But it just kept getting better. Something I noticed is that Fullmetal Alchemist really stabs you in the gut with how dark it is for, like, the first 20 or so episodes. But it kind of gets more and more hopeful as it goes on, if that makes sense. Like, it's more about, what are we gonna do about it? We gotta fight the homunculi and stuff. It's a very action-packed show. It's a very motivational show. Mainly, I love in the show, more than anything else, is how people, different cultures and different beliefs are willing to work together for a common goal. Scar, who despises basically everyone around him, is willing to work with the others. Again, spoiler warning. He's willing to work with the others to defeat the homunculi. Mei Chang, the other Shing characters. I love the Shing characters. They really bring a whole new level of flavor to the story. I really love Mei in general. She's just so adorable. And also I love how she just suddenly falls in love with Alphonse out of nowhere and becomes like one of his closest companions. I just love that. It's so adorable. The Shing characters, they all have their own, especially like their different clans and stuff, but they're willing to work together. I feel like a lot of people are willing to work together at the end because they all have a common enemy, which is the homunculi, and they want to stop the country from being, spoiler warning, sacrificed. And also, I really love the religious in like, it's very into like the alchemy mythology or like religion. I don't know. There isn't an alchemy religion, but like there's lots of commentary on religion, like religious persecution. I really loved that. I feel like it shows a really harsh reality of, no doubt the Ishvalans are based off the Jews or the people who live in like natives of Hokkaido, because that's where the writer of the show lived, and that's kind of what inspired her to write about the Ishvalans. But no doubt they were inspired by the Jews and how they were persecuted, especially how religious they are. Frick, I've always been on the Ishvalan side. Scar So yeah, Scar is one of my favorite characters. He's not really a good guy for like most of the show, but I feel like he really redeems himself near the end, considering how much he helps out. He kills Fuhrer Bradley for frick's sake. That's my favorite fight in anime history, because you've got one of the last survivors of an Ishvalan warrior race, and you've got the person responsible for massacring his people, one-on-one, most epic stuff. And the fight isn't too long either. I feel like it's perfect. You get the moment where Scar has to use his other arm, which he never wanted to use because of his beliefs, but he realized that there was more at stake. That was so epic. The final fight with Father is so epic, especially all the warping in and out of the truth. And I really loved Father's death scene. The whole lesson about, like, you think removing your 7 sins would make you perfect or something like that. And yeah, there's a bit of a corny message at the end of the show, like, Edward's like, I got my friends. But, like, again, they suffered through so much. And Edward, it's more than just about the friend. It's about Edward realizing that there's more than just material in the world. He kind of got this ideology of everything is made up of a natural order, and that alchemy can solve everything, because it's made up of that natural order, and all is one is all is one, all that stuff. But no, he realizes that it can't, and that alchemy often causes lots of suffering, so he gives us huge spoiler warning for the whole show. He gives up his ability to use alchemy to free Alphonse, which is brilliant. The ending of the show is perfect, I feel like. Perfectly written, and it's just like the best ending. Hohenheim died, which is extremely sad, but and so did Fu and Buccaneer. But they're happy, and they're like gonna travel throughout the world, and it's just all the side characters get their little spotlight, and I love it. Something the show does is make you love and hate characters a lot. Envy, he is very hateable and also like a very witty villain. Like, he's an enjoyable villain, but you also freaking hate his guts. Mustang I despised for like the first season and the first half of the second season, but after it was revealed that, spoiler warning, Maria Ross lived, I instantly fell in love with Mustang, and for the rest of the show he was like almost my favorite character. And oh my god, that scene where everyone convinces him not to kill Envy, I'm like, at the time I was like, what? Why isn't he killing Envy? And I realized that it's because Mustang will be consumed by the path of vengeance, and it's the same thing with Scar. It's such a well-written scene. Everyone shows Envy compassion, and Envy literally takes his own life because he can't stand being given compassion, because he's envious of people that can feel compassion, because Envy can't feel compassion. Really, the 7 deadly sins are really well utilized. Gluttony got done dirty by Pride. Pride is a freaking menace. Lost was killed off really early. I feel like I'm fine with that because it showed how badass Mustang was. And we don't really see a lot of action from him after that, after Season 2, for like a while. All the characters are amazingly written. Honestly, like when I think of any characters I really don't like, Goldtooth Doctor, but I mean, you're not supposed to like him. He's this mad scientist who created a monster against his will, and he created Fuhrer Bradley, one of the most evil characters in any anime, in my opinion. Same with he didn't create Father, but Father's also very evil. But yeah, 10 out of 10 characters, world building. I really love the world building. Development of the characters is very amazing, especially the Elric brothers. I love Winry. I love Hawkeye. I love Armstrong, even though I feel like he midway through the show, it's like, where is he? He just disappeared. Olivier, I adore Olivier. I noticed that she kind of feels compassion for her fellow soldiers, but she really doesn't show it. There's this one scene where Major Miles and Edward are talking, and he's like, you're Ishvalan, right? Don't people have a problem with you being in the military? And he's like, well, and Edward kind of says, like, I don't feel like people should be judged by their race. And I'm like, oh man, you're really spitting facts there. But then Miles says, you see, he asked Olivier the same question. And this is why one of my biggest reasons as to why Olivier is one of my favorite characters. she just says, here in the North, we have no such luxury or discrimination. Like we have no such we have no such luxury as discrimination. We don't we don't have that luxury. Like, I love how they phrased it. Like, we can't do that because we literally can't. So what's the point? And it's like, she's like, if you have a problem with me, then cut me down right here. And she's like, she feels like you justified to have a problem with me. It shows like that racial ethnicity, like hatred, and it's like, Attack on Titan also visits these concepts quite a bit, at least later in season 4. Not so much in the earlier seasons. I mean, a bit in Mikasa's backstory, but you don't really know much about that until like season 4. Season 3, season 4, both of those. What was I saying? But yeah, I can talk about the show forever. The music is amazing. I'll listen to it constantly. The pacing is amazing. I'm always waiting for the next episode. Like, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? It's always keeping me on my toes, and like the build up, and oh my god, it's like the show is teasing you for 4 seasons, and then you get the best final season of any show. Yeah, better than Attack on Titan season 4. I said it, and I adore Attack on Titan season 4 more than the rest of the show. But season 5 of Fullmetal Alchemist, it's like it's just battles everywhere. It's like the ultimate battle. Everyone's fighting, but there's also very good writing with all of the fights. How Olivier convinces the soldiers that are her enemies to fight against Sloth because they don't really have any other choice. The mannequin soldiers and how they turn on their masters, and Mustang's whole arc. Greed, Greeling. I thought that was weird, but I feel like they executed it really well. Yeah. Really? I'm trying to think of my problems with the show. It's just the beginning. Like, the first few episodes are kind of hit or miss. The beginning of the show is very jarring for someone who hasn't seen anything else. But I feel like it doesn't really take much away, but it can turn off new viewers, I feel like. And yeah, I'll forever love this show, and it's just, I just love it. I freaking, listen, I sang the second opening in the high school auditorium for my drama class, and I sang the 5th opening for a karaoke in my Japanese class, so I think that shows how much I love that show. I'm literally willing to sing it in public. And where's the silent voice? Didn't we just have it? Literally the greatest anime ever. The greatest movie ever as well. I wouldn't say Fullmetal Alchemist is the greatest show ever. I'd say that belongs to Crocodile Hunter. Because Steve Irwin is a hero to me, and many others, and I love animals, and yeah. Band of Brothers is also amazing, like one of my favorite shows. Fullmetal Alchemist is definitely probably my 3rd favorite show under Band of Brothers and Crocodile Hunter. But Silent Voice, watched it over 10 times, and I haven't gotten bored of it. I did watch it in close succession last time, so I'm like, alright, this is a bit much, but take it from me. I've watched it 10 times over, and it hasn't gotten old. It's still as potent as it was the first time, and just so you know, it was so potent, I literally had to pause the movie twice to cry. This movie just, it freaking ripped my heart out and then put it back in, or broke my heart and then restored it. It's like Omori. That's what Omori did as well. It's so heartbreaking, but it's also so heartwarming, and it really gave me this idea, like, relationships aren't about, again, dating. It's about genuine care and protection. I go more deeper into it in my video essay about it. The characters are so amazing, and, oh, yeah, I should probably mention, it's so realistic and relatable. I've never been extremely bullied, but there was a girl in my elementary school and middle school and high school, but mainly elementary school, she was bullied, and I was always trying to help her. But bullies are sneaky, and I can't always tell when they're bullying her. Um, okay, it wasn't. I wouldn't say she was bullied as bad as Nishimiya. I mean, I can't say for sure, but yeah, I was trying to protect her. You know, I wasn't super close with her, but like I was always kind of keeping an eye out for like people who would talk smack about her. Though I wasn't very good at like I befriended Amber kind of out of pity, but like not. And that's kind of like one of one of the things they bring up in the show is like, did you do it out of pity? But no, it wasn't out of pity. I genuinely like her as a person. She's a great person, and we're great friends. And also, I feel like I want to protect her from bullies, which again is a lot harder because they're sneaky, especially nowadays. Um, and yeah, again, it's not like we're together or anything. I don't even know her all that well, but it's just, and like I have lots of personal experience, but mainly what really resonated with me was the mental health. Shoko Nishimiya, the fact that she was a deaf character, they did her so well. I feel like I'm really fascinated by disabled representation in media, and they just did phenomenal with her. I feel like she's one of my favorite characters in anything. I adore her. Like I freaking adore her so bad. Like, and I feel like she deserves the world. And yet she's so humble and so hard on herself. Which makes you want to protect her even more. And like, I won't get into spoilers, but because I've already did in my video essay, but like, God, it's just so potent, and again, the ending feels so perfect because I feel like they deserve it after all the stuff they've been through. Also, something I liked, Ueno. Okay, spoiler warning. Ueno, the main bully of Nishimiya, at least until the end. She never really stops bullying her. She just kind of goes to the sidelines and is like, yeah, whatever. Like, she's still pretty harsh. That's realistic, you know? Bullies, you know, you want to redeem people, but not everyone can be redeemed, like Shoya was. And Ueno, like, Nishimiya forgave her. She put a freaking umbrella over her. Like, jeez. She's such a sweetheart. And I adore her. And I also really love Shoya. I feel like he's a complete and utter jackass in a bad way in the beginning. But in high school Shoya, I actually really love. I feel like he's really trying to better himself. And it really makes a good point about redemption. And that's like one of the best parts about Vinland Saga also, and like Fullmetal Alchemist, like a lot of my favorite anime all are about like redemption, to in some degree. Welcome to the NHK, like turning someone who's just given up on themselves, not treating themselves healthily, like Hikikomori, trying to make them better. Steins Gate, not really sure, not really much talk about redemption, but like, just so good. Dr. Stone also talks a bit about redemption, but not too much. Fairy Tail, kinda. Steven Universe kind of would brought that out, but yeah, Silent Voice just, I could talk about it all day. But it's so sad. It makes me cry so much. Especially, near the end of the movie. And that scene on the bridge with Shoya and Nishimiya, where they're both, Shoya and Shoko, they're both on the bridge, and they see each other again after so long. Best scene ever in movie history. I say that very strongly, but I've seen it like almost dozens of times, and it is basically perfect. Like, it's immaculate. It's so gorgeous and beautiful in every way. And yeah, that movie will stick with me forever. It's such a beautiful, gorgeous work of art that's changed me. And something that warms my heart even more is that the creator said that they wanted to push on to get this out published, so people that feel lonely could be could read this. I'm like, oh my god, I love this. I love you. I love everything about this. Is there anything bad I can say about it? Okay, well, the manga did have more. I just feel like the movie adaptation did cut some stuff out, but I feel like it did it in a way that made sense. Like, manga goes a bit further into the story, but I feel like it ended, apparently it goes, okay, spoilers, manga goes further than the ending where all the X's fall off. And yeah, it's a beautiful work of art movie. Again, just freaking watch my video essay if you want to hear me talk, if you want to hear me fanboy about it, or fangirl about it. And, yeah, sorry. What was I gonna say? The manga goes on a bit further than the anime does. Past when the X's fall, it's kind of a cliffhanger, so I'm kind of glad they didn't do that, but, you know, I feel like they did the best of what they had. The movie influenced me so much that I even learned some Japanese Sign Language. Just a very little bit of it, but I learned a bit of Japanese Sign Language. If that ain't a testament to what this movie is, I don't know what is. Also, green-haired guy reminds me of Mumi, and I've showed this movie to, almost everyone I know and that I'm close to. That shows you how... Is that Your Lie in April? Listen... I'm only 5 episodes in. It's beautiful so far. That was not Your Lie in April. It's beautiful so far. 5 episodes in. It's alright. I love it. I wouldn't say love it, I like it. I just didn't watch anymore. I don't really know why, I just didn't. It's just a slow show, and it's hard, my ADHD, you know? I'd love to watch the rest of it, but lately, not watching as much anime, but I definitely will at some point. Faux show. What is there? No. One Piece, I watched one episode of. It was the episode where, spoiler warning, the One Piece is real! And I loved it. Watercup really loves the show. What the frick? Yeah. Great show, from what I've heard. I saw, apparently it's get really dark, which is ironic because of the whole 4Kids shit. Yeah. Is that the Chunibyo one? Alright. I'm really struggling to find the one I want to talk about next. Oh, right! A place further than the universe. God tier. Probably the lowest... That's not what I clicked! Nana. I wonder why people want me to watch Nana. Orange, another really great one. I'd say that... Where is it? What is this show? I don't know what the show is. Sorry if you watch that show. I just don't know what that show is. I'd say... top tier. Orange is very sad, but very good. I feel like it ended really well. The movie was mainly just half a recap and half what happens afterwards. Watercup recommended it. I loved it. Very great show. Orange. Great characters, realistic, I feel like. Little Witch Academia. Wow, this is a nostalgic anime for me. So Little Witch Academia, man, this really gets my nostalgia things tingling. It's just such a wonderful show. I haven't watched Harry Potter yet. My parents were like, if you like this, you'll like Harry Potter, which I do. I love Harry Potter, now that I've seen it after this. It's basically Harry Potter with anime girls, and it's a lot more lighthearted. And I realize that I think the show's for kids, but, geez, it's just it's an emotional show, you know? And it's yeah, it really captivated me. I love Diana. She seems like the spoiled rich kid. Oh, spoiler warning. She seems like the spoiled rich kid for the whole show, but then you realize that it's a lot more complicated. It takes a rather dark turn, and realistic dark turn of all things, in the second season when there's a whole, when the main villain's goal is to utilize internet hatred, like internet negativity as power. Like how relevant is that? Great show, surprisingly dark at times, but also a very just happy. It's a very wholesome show. It'll put a huge smile on your face. But surprisingly dark near the end. Like they literally have to stop a missile. But I feel like they do it in a way that's like, it's a very, very great show. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but geez, I just hold so many memories with this show. It's so wonderful. I love the characters. They're so cute. Everything about the show is so cute. I love cute things. Not next. Wait, A Place Further in the Universe. Where did it go? I really wanted to talk about that. I really want to talk about that. Where did it go? It's like... there. Alright. Place Further in the Universe. Barely anyone knows about this. So, I was watching someone talk about Violet Evergarden. It was actually Mother's Basement. They were talking about Violet Evergarden, and they're like, Winter 2018 is really hitting us with some shows that are great for people who love to cry. And it's like, we got Violet Evergarden and A Place Further in the Universe. And I'm like, what? That's interesting. And I'm like, and then I read that it's an anime about Antarctica, and I'm like, sold. I'm really a geography buff, and I adore Antarctica. I feel like any anime that dares to go like outside of Japan, that's in the real world, I'm like, that, I love that. And Antarctica of all places, I'm like, that is amazing. And I watched the show, and I got, it's like very relatable because since before I was 1, I've been traveling to and from Sweden, because I am half Swedish and I visit my family in Sweden. So I have gotten many instances of travel bliss in my past, or like traveling around the U.S., maybe visiting airports around Europe like Munich, Reykjavik, Copenhagen, Edinburgh. And yeah, this show just encapsulates the feeling of travel bliss. Like, when you're traveling, you just feel like you're on top of the world. You feel like it's so exciting. I feel like one of the best examples is when I was going to meet Scott the Woz. There was just this wonderful feeling of anticipation. So much that I was willing to stand in a line for 2.5 hours that was moving at 0.1% speed. You know what I'm trying to say. And yeah, I love how much they struggle to get to Antarctica. They go to Australia and Singapore briefly. I wish they would have showed more of Australia. That's actually probably my biggest complaint with the show. Also my biggest complaint with the show, where's the walruses? They're in the opening, but they're not in the show. Again, when that's my biggest complaint, you know the show is good. It's only 13 episodes long, but it really hits you there. It's not super... it is deep. It talks a lot about friendships, relationships, and like travel, and like it's a really ordeal to get to Antarctica. And yeah, and when we actually do to get to Antarctica, we really see how all the characters develop, and they're all so lovable, and the show just makes me smile so hard. Like, it's so cute, especially when like that one girl just keeps fawning over penguins. And then she actually meets penguins, and they're like surrounding her, and she's like, "Oh, they're so stinky, but I'm so happy. But they're so stinky, I'm so happy." I love that scene. It's such a nice show, such a wholesome show. But then, spoiler warning, we find out that the girl's mom actually like had left messages for her that like she hadn't read any of them except for like one. Well, no, we find out that she huge spoiler warning. She hasn't read any of the emails that she's been sending to her throughout the whole show, and they just pile up, and it's like, I'm gonna cry. I'm crying. That's how the scene feels. Like, it just keeps going up, and I'm like, come on, you're gonna make me cry if you do this much longer. The tears come flying out. Wonderfully tragic scene. But then we kind of see like that she did get one of the emails, and then she actually emailed her back, and it's like, it lightens the blow a little bit. But like, it still encapsulates that feeling of travel bliss, and I love how the show ends with, next time we'll go on another adventure. And it really shows it's like, traveler's life is never done, pretty much. I feel like that's kind of how it is. even if you're just traveling across your state, across your country. Travel is just amazing. Stressful, don't get me wrong, but amazing. It's very happy, very stressful, but it's very, very amazing. And the show is so cute, pretty tragic in some parts, but so very cute and wholesome and happy and relatable. Not that I've been to Antarctica, and yeah, that's the main thing. The fact that it's about Antarctica is really the main draw between these to the show. And it did not disappoint. I just thought they'd show more of Antarctica. But I mean, there isn't a whole lot to see, it's mainly ice. But I mean, there's so much. There's just wildlife. You could scout the beaches for penguins, and there's walruses and petrels and seals. Alright, My Hero Academia. I'd say bottom of... No, I don't know about top tier, high tier. So, another one of my first animes. I don't know about first, but like an anime that really cemented my love of anime. Especially Froppy. I fell in love with Froppy. Like, I got shirt of her. I got a cake with her face on it. I really adore Froppy. Season 1 was alright. Good introduction to the show. Bit slow. Season 2, Season 2 was amazing. The Stain battle lasted a bit long for my liking. That's actually when my mom dropped the show. Season 3, the peak of the show... Okay, well, one of the peaks of the show. I feel like the show wouldn't peak again until Season 6. I haven't seen any of Season 7 yet, keep in mind. Season 3 of the show was amazing. Spoiler warning, you got basically the ultimate battle of good versus evil. I love the Bakugo capture, like, plot twist is amazing. And, like, yeah. But the second half of Season 3 is kind of it kind of blows. Like, we got all these other... Like, I get it's about the Academy, and it's about them training to become heroes, but, like, I've seen enough of that. I want them to actually become heroes. That's my thing with training arcs. Like, I get that it's building them up, but I am impatient. I want to see actual action. And then we got this arc where just everyone's fighting for, like, points. There's a bit like, oh, the League of Villains is here, kind of, but they're not. They're just in disguise. One of them is. And, yeah, it's alright. Second half of Season 3. However, it does end with a bang. Deku and Bakugo roughing it out. Alright, anyway, after that is Season 4. What even happens in the second half of Season 4? Oh, yeah. Okay, so Season 4. I actually think Season 4 is amazing. I love the Overhaul arc. Even though, and this is a bit of a weird complaint... In fact, this is one of my biggest complaints with the show. The fight locations are really boring. Like, they fight Overhaul in this really cool underground, like, Japanese-themed fortress. But then they just fight in those, like, these tunnels and, like, this giant open concrete room. Wow, so captivating. Keep in mind, I remember things by their photo memory, like I remember things in general by what the place around them looked like, so it's a huge important thing for me, especially fights. However, at least afterwards, they do go outside, and it's a bit more interesting looking. Yeah. A lot of times it's just like, it's not interesting visually. And I know that sounds like a really stupid complaint, but, you know, you need your fight location to match the fight, in my opinion. You need it to affect the fight. You need it to actually make sense. You need it to... That's just a big thing for me. Anyway. But yeah, Overhaul arc, amazing. Eri is adorable, especially. I love the arc after that, where they're, like, yeah, you could say it's filler, but they're all having fun. And it's a good, like, break from all the action, and it's just so cute. I freaking love the freaking gentle criminal, and how he actually says something pretty profound. about like how Deku seems like he could have become like Gentle Criminal, and Gentle Criminal in general, like I really love him as a character. Season 5 is the worst season in my opinion. The first half is pretty boring. Class A versus Class B, cool, but I don't care. Honestly, it's cool. Like I wanted to see them more, but like, yeah, like listen, it's good. It's just not captivating for 5 seasons in. For 5 seasons in, I want to see some real stakes. And then for the second half, we see a flashback question mark for the villain side. That's fine and all, but I wish they would have put it at a different point. Like apparently it happens in the manga before the other arc, which makes way more sense. Good, but very confusing. I love Shigaraki's backstory though, and freaking Doofenshmirtz anime mode. I love that. So it ends off on a high note. Season 6 is freaking brilliant. Probably my favorite season of the show, honestly. You got the war arc, the first half, Dabi, brilliant character, Watercup agrees, and then the Vigilante Deku arc was amazing. I thought it had such a different feel from the rest of the show. It's like, this is what we wanted. Deku's finally leaving the school. It's like, he's his own person now. Even though he does come back, which I think was warranted. I wanted him to come back, like the others did. But, like, it was good to see them acting on their own rather than having the teachers, like, I mean, they do act on their own, okay? But also, My Hero Academia has so many characters. Like, hundreds. How are they going to flesh them all out? The main cast is like 20 characters. How are they going to flesh them out? So you just got characters in the main class who are just one note. Like, the guy that eats. That's his power. Like, what? The Invisible Girl, who I think they actually give her some backstory. But, like, yeah. I am not caught up with the manga, but it sounds pretty cool. I have high hopes for the rest of the show. But yeah, it seems to be close to over. They better do us good. Villains in My Hero Academia are great. Frickin' love Twice, the really psychotic girl. Forget her name. All for One's honestly a pretty like boring villain, which I love, and it's a shame that he takes over Shigaraki's body, but he is the big bad, you know. But Shigaraki is an amazing villain. Dabi, probably my favorite villain in the whole show. I already said I love Froppy. Bakugo's an interesting character, but geez, it's a bit overboard. Like, he just takes so long to develop. Like, 6 seasons for him to finally apologize to Deku. Sorry, spoilers. But, like, again, I'm saying there's a spoiler warning for the whole thing, and no one's even watching right now. But, like, bro, that's a bit long, don't you think? 6 seasons, like, I've been waiting so long. Like, it's just annoying at that point. And I get some people that like that, but, like, jeez. Deku's cool. Again, a bit like, I'm the hero, I'm a good person, which he is. All Might's a great character. Some of the characters just feel like fan service, like Mount Lady. Midnight isn't that, like, in-depth of a character. The Sniper Girl from Season 6 is weirdly in-depth. Oh yeah. Big flaw with My Hero Academia. The women always seem to be on the sidelines. Perfect example, Season 4. You got this team of pretty good heroes, and you got Uraraka and Froppy. They have so little screen time compared to the others. What's with the, like, they just seem like, oh, they just use them for fan service. Like, jeez. As a woman, that's pretty crappy. And, yeah, even before I knew it was a woman, I'm like, it's just, like, it's disappointing. Got some good girl characters in there. You need to develop them more and have them involved more. But yeah, great show. Just a bit too long. That honestly is my biggest complaint. It's too long. However, unlike Fairy Tail, it's captivated me because it doesn't stay on anything too long, like to the level of Fairy Tail. So I'm still really, I'll be there till the end. Because it seems to be almost over. Like, maybe, is Season 7 the last season? I wonder. And fairy tale music stuck in my head. Again, amazing music. Come on, where's Attack on Titan? I want to talk about Attack on Titan. JoJo, oh my god, there's so much I have to talk about. Hibike Euphonium. I'd say it's like right below Toradora. Freaking amazing show. A bit slow, like very slow paced. Again, I have ADHD, so it's a bit much. It's kind of like Better Call Saul. You really gotta stick with it for it to get really good. But it really, I love the messages about motivation, and season 2 in particular is very great, and I love the characters, and I freaking love, it's such an adorable show, and it's such a criminally good-looking show. It's so gorgeous. It's just so gorgeous. That's why I love Kyoto's animation so much. They also made a silent voice, by the way. It's like the lighting just on the instruments and like on the people, like you can just see it. It's so realistic. I love the family like dynamic of the main character. I love the black-haired girl. Though my biggest complaint with the show. Okay, here's my biggest complaint with the show. People say it's Yuri bait, and on one hand I'm like no, and on the other hand I'm like kind of, cause like I love Yuri, cause I'm not a lesbian, but I am like bisexual, but I mainly am attracted to women. I kind of, it's like I'll make an exception for you, like femboys and just certain types of boys, but mainly I'm attracted to girls. So I'm like, yes, come on, let's get. So they're so adorable together. They're the freaking cutest. I love them. But then it's like the first season, for frick's sake, she confessed her love to her, and then the manga creator's like, oh no, they were never meant to be romantic. Are you shitting me, right? You're shitting me, right? You gonna feed up me these lies? And then in the second season, they're like, you know what? They try to separate them, so it feels so artificial. Is it because of like Japanese society standards? That might be it, but like, come on, take some risks. Reina, I think is her name or something. They had such a nice relationship, but like then she starts crushing on her teacher, and then it's like, and then you got this really like underdeveloped relationship with freaking the main character and this one random guy who we see almost never. And whenever we do see him, it's like super awkward, and it's like they're really forcing them to be together. It's like the creator wanted the girl to be with the girl, but they're like, oh man, the manga people, the publisher might not like this, and they're like maybe bad press, so they like artificially separated them. It's just so shitty. But anyway, it's still there. It's very obvious, and I feel like you have to live under a rock if you don't realize that yeah, they're in love. They were. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. They're like, she literally confesses her love for her, holds her very close, like, it's Yuri, okay? You can't tell me otherwise. They just don't do anything with it in season 2. Season 1 is full of that, but like, season 2, they just drop all of it. Super disappointing. The movie, a bitch, like, people say, like, it's just, like, abridged, which it kind of is. But you got that speech how she's like, yeah, you try and try and try, but you just end up failing. It's like it, and it's like, well, you just still gotta keep keep going. It sounds like like people are repeating themselves, but like it really says a lot. You have to watch the show to understand how motivational it is. I love Asuka, who I didn't like for most of the show. The teacher I really didn't like for most of the show. He was all right near the end. I feel like that the other two characters that we're meant to believe are the main characters really get thrown to the sidelines. It's a very cute show, heartwarming show, and inspiring show, and I love it. It's amazing. I love it. I freaking adore that show. It hits you in the feels. It really hits you in the feels, and it's relatable. I love all the scenes where it's like someone's just playing their instrument and they just give a water bottle. Like, it's so simple, but it's so effective. Water is the cure-all, basically. My Neighbor Totoro. Alright, hear me out. I want to watch this movie so bad. And I really want to watch more Studio Ghibli movies. I watched Spirited Away, which I adore. Though I only really started to love it on my second watch, which was the day after my first watch. Because I didn't really understand the context behind it, which you really have to in order to understand the movie, I feel like. My Neighbor Totoro, I was in Sweden. Okay, so I have a bit of a story for this one. I had just, on the summer of 2022, like July 7th, 8th-ish, we had just got on a plane to Stockholm, and, we arrived at Stockholm, and we spent time with a family friend, or like my mom's friends, and we explore the city, go to bed. The next morning, we're just kind of like, before everyone's really doing anything, I decide to browse Swedish Netflix, and I'm like, holy crap, they have so many Studio Ghibli movies. This is my chance. I watched My Neighbor Totoro for 20 minutes, I loved it, and then I had to go. And I've never seen any of it since. And that's such a shame. I've seen, in our Japanese class, they played it in only Japanese, which was cool, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. So yeah, I really want to see more of it. But I haven't been able to, unfortunately. But I will. I'll see you one day. Alright, where the frick's Attack on Titan or Violet Evergarden? JoJo. Oh, I'll have to talk about JoJo. Hear me out. I feel like these could be, I feel like these could be ranked the same, but JoJo is such an amazing show. It's like a different show each part, but it has that JoJo seal of quality, which makes you always enjoy it. Not so much in the first couple parts, but I feel like after a while, I really get that JoJo seal of quality. Like, you know you'll enjoy it because it's JoJo. JoJo is so JoJo that it's created its own community of, like, JoJo references, and it's just so unlike anything else you'll ever see in your life. It's so amazing. Stylish. That's one of the best parts of the show. Really, I could make a whole video about JoJo. It's so expansive, and what really keeps me going is that there's so many parts with so many different JoJos, and an interconnected story, which I really love. And that's why it's so high up. It's so entertaining, and it keeps me engaged. But to briefly recap every part, spoilers, for all the parts. Part 1, I actually dropped, around the Tarukas and Bruford fight. But then many years later, a friend of mine convinced me to watch the show. So I watched, like, the first 4-ish episodes. Like, I stopped, like, midway through episode 4, and I skipped to part 2. I know. That's freaking awful. But I feel like it was required, because I loved part 2, and it convinced me to watch part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6, even a bit, I dabbled into part 7, part 8, kind of following part 9, and I even watched the rest of part 1. I finished it recently. Out of order. So, like, part 1, I feel like, is pretty boring. But it's short, it doesn't overstay its welcome, but it also does with the Bruford and Tarukas fight, which I honestly, upon watching it again, is a great fight. I love the profoundness of Bruford when he dies. He's like, I'm a human again. I can feel pain, but that's what makes me human. And I'm like, that hits hard. And it's a great part. It's rather stereotypical good versus evil. And God, that first episode's brutal with the amount of dog harm, even though it's meant to show Dio's evil. In part 3, they do it constantly. It's like, we get it! Dio's an evil son of a bitch. And sexy, many people think. I don't honestly think he's sexy, but many people are like, oh my god, Dio. And I'm like, do I need to remind you the amount of sin he's committed against dogs and his minions? It's like, geez, we get it. That's my biggest problem with the show by far. Part 1, Amazing is just boring, but ends off on a really high note. I know Jonathan dies, but again, I said spoilers in the beginning. I feel like he dies in a satisfying way because he holds on to Dio and shows his compassion even for his enemies. And however, he does get screwed over, but yeah, that makes you want to watch the next part. It's like, what's gonna happen now? He's dead. So then part 2, you got Joseph, who honestly I really love. He's a lovable jackass. I love the Pillar Men. They're so over the top. It's a very funny part. But then you got Caesar and his relationship, and oh my god, spoiler warning, Caesar dies. Oh, it's so sad. It's like one of the saddest deaths in the whole show. Like, god dang it. And it just changes the mood of the whole part. And it's a lot darker after that. And it's like, and then you got Wamu, who like kind of, even though he killed Caesar, he kind of respects the fact that Caesar kind of gave him a way to beat him. And it's like that warrior respect and all that. It's pretty cool. Kara is a pretty cool villain. Here's my biggest problem with part 2. The misogyny. And I know that sounds weird, but it's light, but it's also not. Like, you got Lisa, who, yeah, she's a badass. She's awesome. I love Lisa. But then when she actually fights against Cars, he just like, he dodges one attack and then he just uses her as a plaything. Like, Jesus. It seems pretty obvious. Very buff men. And it's like, the women are just... It just seems like they're... Like, I can tell the, good old frickin' what's his name? The creator of JoJo's trying, but he's not doing very well. And it might be because it was kind of misogynistic in general at the time, and it was all about the macho man. But, yeah, really, that's my biggest problem with part 2. And the Nazis... I was fine with them being in the story. Like, I was fine with them being in the story. I'm like, okay, Nazis taking advantage of Pillar Men. Well, I mean, they've taken advantage of everything at this point in fiction. But then they get a good Nazi, Stroheim, who's such a, like, dingus that you kind of end up rooting for him. But he's a Nazi. And the weirdest thing is, in the final battle, like, everyone's there, including the main character's black friend, and the Nazis are also there. It's like... Are you insane? You realize what you're doing, right? You're literally... I don't think I need to explain this. It's like Stroheim. Listen, I think it's fine because Stroheim is such a jackass, and he's such a, like, cartoonish character. Like, I think that's why it's fine. But it's like, he died heroically at the Battle of Stalingrad. Don't give me that shit. The Nazis were awful. I don't think... For frick's sake, JoJo frequently, like, speaks out against racism, especially in part 6. So don't give me that shit. Stroheim, I mean, he's very iconic, very meme-y. You could have just set the time period somewhere different, like World War I or something. So, German science is the greatest. Instead of him saluting Hitler, which he literally does in the opening of all things. Like, what? Are you smoking crack? I mean, I feel like it's a weird question to ask for JoJo, because, there's some weird stuff. Oh, hey, we're talking about JoJo. Hey there, viewer. So, yeah, a bit weird that Nazis are, like, there's a good Nazi in JoJo. Like, what the frick? Are you kidding me? But part 2 is really great. Part 3... Part 3, I really love. It's a bit predictable, especially how Jotaro's just like, Yoda, does it, and just wins every fight he's in. Polnareff just kind of gets introduced and almost becomes the main character, which honestly I'm fine with. He's a really cool character, but it takes away screen time from Avdol and Calculene. Spoilers, by the way, for the viewer. We're discussing some spoilers for, like, JoJo at the moment. But, really, the pacing, I feel like I've heard people say the pacing in Stardust Crusaders is bad. I don't think it is. Like, they're traveling around the world, and it's so cool. I love, as I said, I really love when anime is willing to go outside of Japan and really, like, do real-world places. Oh, man, they left. I like when they're able to do real-world places, like they go to Egypt, of course, Pakistan, India. I feel like it was a bit weird. I don't really find it offensive, but it's like, pig in the toilet. Oh, it's normal in India. No, they don't say that. They just kind of... I mean, Abdul says he loves India, and it's great. But then, like, the narrator says, like, oh, the Europeans said, what's it called? The one city on the coast that they go to in the beginning was considered the worst place on earth by Europeans. It's like, who gives a shit about what the Europeans think? I think they just said that. It's just weird, okay? It's freaking weird. Jotaro, kind of misogynist, like light misogyny, but it's mainly played up as like, it's a joke mainly. I feel like it's not as, I feel like it's not as like nearly offensive as it is in JoJo Part 2. I don't really think it's offensive, but like Part 3, it's like, it's still there. It's still kind of there. The women characters are just kind of on the sidelines. It's all about the buff men. Not that the women don't get any respect. It's just like, oh yeah, that one girl, she just kind of comes in the story and leaves. They really should have done more with that. Like, God, there's that one scene where the orangutan, like, sexually harasses the girl. What the fuck, JoJo? I'm sorry, but Japan, why are you like this? Seriously. That's not bizarre. That's bizarrely pedophilic. Do not quote that. Anyway, there's some real miss battles. Like, there's some real, like, battles that are misses. But I feel like they're over with so quickly that, like, alright. It's like, oh, we have a cool stand battle. What's it gonna be this time? Oh, it's this ability. Alright, on to the next one. Like, I like that. I like that. It feels like a lightning round. And if you don't like a certain arc, you know, I feel like it doesn't normally overstay its welcome. Sure, 2 episodes, 40 minutes, but like, I don't know. Compared to like Demon Slayer with like, season-long fights, and Fairy Tail with season-long arcs, which are much longer and can sometimes span multiple seasons. Like, bruh. I feel like it's not much compared to that. And yeah, like I'm saying, if you think Dragon Ball doesn't drag on, then you don't then don't say JoJo doesn't drag on. I've never seen Dragon Ball, so don't give me shit for that. I'm just saying, I heard it's really long. Fairy Tail drags on a lot. I don't feel like JoJo drags on. I feel like it's over fast enough. And all the JoJo stands are at least interesting. Like, they're interesting. Not all of them are executed well, but they're interesting. I feel like in every stand battle, there's something to take out of it. There's something as a cool part. Most of the stand battles are good, though. Like you've got Enyaba, the Lovers, or Steely Dan, same thing. Polnareff, Whole Horse. I love Whole Horse. He's just freaking the best. The Darby, both Darbys. freaking, whoa, it's a baseball! I love the English in JoJo. And it all caps off with the Dio's Mansion arc is amazing and surprisingly dark. Like, JoJo Part 3, it's pretty dark, I wouldn't say it's too dark, but then it's just like, holy shit, like, just bombards you with, like, oh God, it's getting real dark now. Characters just killed off left and right, or nearly killed off, and it's just like, jeez, heart hurts so bad. JoJo really knows how to hurt you when it comes to killing off characters. But yeah, all the fights in the mansion are great. Darby, the younger, that's a hilarious fight. Villanilla Ice is a terrifying fight, which is so freaking tragic, but satisfying once they finally win. Dio, and oh yeah, finally, it all culminates with Dio. The name you've heard, Dio. They just won't shut up about Dio. And I'm like, what's the big deal? Come on, Dio, show us something impressive. Like, freaking, this is how you make it good. One of the best fights in anime history with one of best fights in anime history with Jotaro versus Dio. Why is Moist critical on the ad? But yeah, Jotaro versus Dio, the whole Stardust Crusaders versus Dio, one of the best fights in anime history. So iconic, so memeable. It's so greatly written. It really makes you think, especially how the battle only lasted like a few minutes because otherwise Joseph wouldn't be able to be resuscitated. Again, spoilers. So good. Zawardo! So memeable. Yeah, so iconic. Anyway, part 4. I need water. Holy shit. Okay. Part 4 ain't my favorite, but it's great, don't get me wrong. The first half of I got bored the first few episodes of part 4. I think the Toy Story-like stand is really cool. Though I didn't care for Okuyasu at first, but don't worry, he grew on me. Hot Chili Pepper is a really lame villain. I don't really like its episodic format. Not that it's bad, but like the mainly standout from that part of the show is how Yuka, I think her name's Yukako, like locks up Koichi in her house and forces him to study. Like that's a personal like nightmare of mine. Like I like it's terrifying. Like not in a fun way. I'm like hell no, I don't like this. And yet she's a popular character. She got a whole freaking speech. Like they named a like microorganism species after her. I'm like, why her out of all people? I mean, it's not the only one, but still, Love Deluxe. It's a real thing. I don't know what it's called exactly, but it's real. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that's Hot Chili Pepper. You got some good ones like, the Guilt stand is pretty interesting. Again, the Toy Story like one. The beginning fight is interesting, but super dark. Like holy crap! Like JoJo just gets super dark out of nowhere, and doesn't really talk much about it. It's like, oh, by the way, this guy's a child rapist. Sorry if that triggers you, but like that's literally what they say in the beginning of part 4. This guy's a serial killer, and like Jesus. And like and you pair that with the sudden animal deaths, and it's like Jesus. JoJo's really hard to swallow sometimes. However, we got Yosh Kagekira, who single-handedly turns the part from it's pretty good to holy shit, this is peak. Yosh Kagekira is the best JoJo villain, one of the best anime villains. He basically becomes the main character of any scene he's in. It's like, hey guys, it's Josuke, I'm the cool JoJo. What did you say about my hair? And then it transitions over, my name is Yosh Kagekira. Like every time he's on screen, he just quite literally steals the show. He basically becomes the main character. And it's like, yeah, very memeable and also very interesting. And very terrifying as well. JoJo music is great. A lot of the anime music is great. Vinland Saga, Fullmetal Alchemist, Silent Voice, Toradora, Fairy Tail music is great. Pretty good music place from the universe. Welcome to the NHK as well. Welcome to the NHK has some pretty cool music, but like it's kind of like country music, weirdly enough. Like why? Anyway, JoJo Part 4. Yosh Kagekira's whole arc is amazing, and amazingly terrifying. It really just solidifies the whole part. The final battle is awesome. I kind of knocked on it, like it's fought in this random ass house, but then I realized it's kind of the point. Yosh Kagekira is living a normal life, supposedly. He claims to want a normal life, but really he's just not satisfied with his normal life and goes out and does some freaky shit to people. And then acts like nothing happened. I'm going home from work today. I'm a working, tax-paying citizen who also stole this girl's hand and blew someone up. That person was also a 6th grader. Like, what? Yeah, again, spoilers, but again, I warned you all, so don't get on my ass. But yeah, end of the part's so amazing. The style, I love the style, like how Morio looks. It makes even the bushes look stylish. Like, it makes just neighborhood houses look stylish, if that makes any sense. The yellow sky, it just has this really cool look to it. I really love the aesthetics of Part 4. Yeah. Josuke is awesome. Okuyasu is awesome. Koichi, kind of becomes the main character sometimes, weirdly enough. Joseph is a complete, he was a lovable jackass for part 2 and part 3. Now he's just, an unlikable jackass. I just don't like him, for the most part, in part 4. But yeah, part 4 is great. Part 5, I feel like, is really great. King Crimson. It's extremely confusing, but it's really cool. Diavolo is an amazing villain. We don't even know who he is for most of the story, but they still make the reveal so cool. And spoiler warning. Polnareff coming back was the most hype moment of the entirety of JoJo for me. I'm like, holy crap. I did get spoiled on it, but I didn't know when it was coming, and it still hit just as hard. And, yeah. You got all the characters, and here's what it feels like. It did what Stardust Crusaders couldn't do, and it made all the characters feel equally important, kind of. Bucciarati feels like the main character, even though Giorno is, and Giorno just kind of feels flat. Not that he's a bad character, but he just kind of feels flat. But yeah, all the other characters are just so cool, and they got all these complicated backstories, that merely makes you feel for each and every one of them. It really makes, I really love that. The fights are a lot more interesting than part 3, that's for sure. This is when they're really starting to get refined with the stands and stuff. Trisha, they should have featured more. You can really tell at this point that the creator is trying to get more powerful female characters, but he's struggling. Especially since they all start dressing like women, which I love, by the way. That's so freaking zesty and stylish, and I love that there's this random gay couple that's these two, one of the stand battle, enemy stand users. They're a real highlight. The stand battles in general are really fun. I really love Italy, so that makes it even better. Final fight with Diavolo is amazing, but the shit with they swap bodies. I mentioned this earlier with your name. They swap bodies, and it just feels forced. It's like, why? Chariot Requiem is really cool. The lore behind him is really cool, but why swap bodies? It's weird. Why? It just adds a whole level of unnecessary to it. Doesn't take away from the fact that it's all awesome, though, and the final fight with Diavolo is amazing. But Jesus, Diavolo got bad treatment, but it's so satisfying to see him cower before a little girl, not knowing what's gonna happen, and he was at the top of the drug food chain, and then he gets brought to the bottom, shanked by some guy who's high off of his the drugs that his men were selling, and all that stuff. It's very good, but the ending of the part just kind of comes out of nowhere. You got that weird spoiler warning, flashback of them, and it was all fate. The deaths were fated to happen of the main characters. Narancia's best boy, I adore him, and they killed him off. They did him dirty. They even killed him off in a different body. Why? He was in the middle of a sentence, and they just killed him. Jeez. Not that it isn't well written, but jeez, they did him so dirty. And yeah, that was fated to happen, which honestly, I think it's fine, but it's out of nowhere, and it does have some profound stuff about the sleeping, maybe they're sleeping slaves. It's pretty profound. But then you just got Giorno let's go to the Colosseum, and I'm really, is that the note we're ending on? And then post credits is oh, Giorno's the boss now. Okay, looks like he is become evil now, but no, I'm sure he's actually gonna undo. I wish we actually see him do what he dreamed of doing, instead of him just, wow, I can't believe I survived, and I've gotten the powers, the wills of all the people who died, and I'm going to the Colosseum, and they don't tell Mista Bucciarati died, which I'm pretty sure was a narrative choice, but why? I don't know what narrative it serves. He's gonna find out anyway eventually. There's no way they can hide it from him for long, so why don't we see it? Yeah. The ending of part 5 is a bit weird. Not bad, but weird. Especially since we only see Giorno be the boss for a second. We don't even know what he does as a boss. Does he actually do what he says and, like, undoes all the drug orders and stuff? I don't see why he wouldn't. His goals don't seem to change at all. Again, he's a pretty flat character. Not a bad character, but a flat character. So, yeah, I wish they would elaborate more on that. Part 6. The best part, in my opinion. I adore Jolene. I literally have a friend named Jolene, so that makes it even better. Jolene is amazing. The prison setting is pretty unique for JoJo. Almost a lot of the... Okay, I'm going to say it. Almost all the stand battles in Part 6 are really interesting, in my opinion. There are some misses, but you got really lots of really great ones. Really, the bad ones are, like, there's that one, like, green thing that's on the boat with him, and it's like, what? But then you got so many good ones. Like the, spoilers, Sons of Dio, the spoilers, Sea Moon, Pucci, the whole main cast is amazing. The whole plot twist with Weather Report and Pucci is one of the most well done and also confusing plot twists in the series. And I really love how dark it gets. Like, it's willing to really, like, go there with how dark it gets, but it doesn't feel unnecessary like it does with killing all the dogs. Which, again, I know it was to show how evil they are, but, like, jeez, man. But, like, they actually say some commentary about, like, how fricked up the American South was. And, like, the KKK's in JoJo. Like, in the manga, at least. They kind of censor it more for the anime, but you can tell they're a racist bunch. And how Pucci's kind of seduced by Dio. It's so well done. Pucci is such an amazing villain. It adds complexity to Dio as well. Though it makes him seem a bit inconsistent as well. Really, my main problem with the part is that it's also it's so weird. It's like, a spoiler warning. I mean, I've already spoiled a lot already, but again, I warned you already. Weather Report has subliminal messaging with rainbows that turns people into snails. What? How much more random could that be? What was the creator smoking when he came up with that? Why snails? Why rainbows? Why subliminal messaging? What? Yeah, that's really my main complaint, but besides that, it's great. It gets so much better once they actually escape prison. And I love the ending. Jotaro comes back, and there's this huge fight, and they lose! That's the insane thing, they lose! Jotaro, for the first time ever, you see him get terrified, and he actually everyone dies except for Emporio. This one kid who you just didn't expect at all to be the protagonist. Now you're following him, and like, Pucci is monologuing about this is all part of his master plan, and he's just chasing down Emporio very slowly, which makes it all the more intense. And it's just so good. And then Emporio hits him with the Weather Report thing, which is really cool because of what Pucci ended up doing to Weather Report, both in the past and in the not so distant past. Like, you know, I don't think he needed to get into it, but he did his brother dirty. And Emporio beats the shit out of him, and Pucci, yeah, just such a great... I feel like it's one of the best and the most profound parts, one of the best written parts. It's so climactic. That's the best part about it. It feels like this is the climax of JoJo. But even the creator said it can't end here, and I'm so glad it didn't, because Part 7, woo! Race Across America. It's so cool. I love Diego Brando, how he kind of constantly changes alliances. Funny Valentine is such an interesting villain. And also, like, you could really tell they were trying to make him not so completely evil, make him more morally gray. Jesus Christ shows up! What isn't in JoJo at this point? Jesus Christ himself shows up. I can't get over how funny that is, but also cool as a Christian. Gyro. Oh yeah, I do like also the Christian themes in JoJo. As a Christian, I think it's really cool. And I mean, yeah, there's a priest villain, but it's no secret that priests can be pretty evil. And also, but anyway, Gyro's amazing. Johnny's amazing. I love Hot Pants. Diego, I love how he switches sides. Then you got Diego from the Diego with the World, which is a bit random and feels out of place, but I feel like they did it well. And it made for a nice cap off to part 7. Amazing part. Ringo Road Again, that's amazing. Civil War, I could go on for practically forever. They also visit parts of America that most people don't think about, like Kansas, Wisconsin. They go to Gettysburg, which I've been to myself, and New York City, which they've already been to in part 2. Yeah, amazing. Part 8 is alright. Honestly, I got bored. I watched summary of it, of the manga. I don't actually read manga or read anything much, even though I'm a writer. It's weird. So I kind of found it. I found it really boring. I like the relationship between the main character and the girl Yasuho. Frickin' Josuke. Why do they need to make it so confusing? It's Morio. The setting is Morio again, which is really, really boring in my opinion. That's my main problem with this, is that the setting's just boring in my opinion. However, things get more exciting when we get introduced to that one guy. The Lokakaka fruit's an interesting plot point. The rock humans is also pretty interesting, and the final battle with Wonder Review is so freaking cool. Yeah. Again, I haven't even seen a lot of the parts, so... But still, from what I've seen, it's pretty cool. Part 9's alright so far. I haven't seen enough of it to really give fair judgment. I like that it's in Hawaii, and I like that one of the characters cross-dresses, might identify as, is non-gender conforming, which I think is really cool. Yeah. JoJo, my probably second favorite anime show, third favorite anime in general. Because of its variety and all that other stuff I just mentioned. And there's nothing like a JoJo fight. That's another thing. There's nothing like a JoJo fight. It just gets you pumped up in the... It might be predictable, but it's so cool. I even wrote my own JoJo fanfiction with my friends. I've met people over that. Oh my god, Konosuba. I'm getting tired, so I'm gonna have to do shorter ones, but Konosuba... Oh, I love Konosuba! I adore Konosuba! It's like, the show, it's weird. It's like a show that doesn't take itself seriously at all, but it's also has this element of wholesomeness as well. Like, there are a bunch of misfits, and they're all arguing, and there's some pretty sexual stuff, which is weird, but I feel like it's like, you're not meant to take it seriously, and it's just kinda... So I don't really mind it all that much. Kazuma stealing panties, it's pretty hilarious. But like, I just love their dynamic. Kazuma and Megumin's dynamic is freaking adorable. I love Megumin. She's like one of my favorite characters ever, period. Megumin, I freaking adore Megumin so bad. Like, I love her so bad. Darkness, I really love, but she's freaking weirdo. Aqua, I'm honestly starting to warm up to, because she's a bitch, don't get me wrong, but she starts to improve, I feel like, after, 2 seasons. Kazuma, also, I feel like he's really developing as a character. I've already mentioned how much I love Megumin. Yeah, I love the show. Very episodic, but it's very wholesome, and it's surprisingly deep. I love the message about, Megumin, how she doesn't give up on her explosions because she feels like she needs to. The movie, the Konosuba movie, bit sus, not gonna lie, but it's very good. It's very wholesome with Megumin, and I just remembered the freaking villain, which is hilarious. Very funny, very wholesome show, and surprisingly deep. Where's Attack on Titan? Where's Attack on Titan? It's like one of the most famous anime. Mom just got home. Hold on a second. I'm streaming.
Okay.
Just hold on.
Sat in my car for another hour.
Sorry.
You having fun?